Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new NBA sports debate video. So for today's video, we're going to be talking about the play-in tournament. So the play-in tournament is something new that the NBA brought in last year for the bubble, and they also brought it back this year for this season as well. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with the play-in tournament, the way it works is that first of all, it's going to start on May 18th, so just a little over 2 weeks from the day we're recording this, which is May 2nd. And the way it works is that the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th seed of each respective conference gets to play in the play-in tournament. The 7th and 8th seed will play against each other. The team that wins gets the 7th seed in their respective conference. The 9th and 10th seed play against each other. The team that loses gets eliminated. The team that wins gets to play the loser of the 7th versus 8th seed. And the team that wins that game gets the 8th seed in the conference. So if you're the 9th or 10th seed, you got to win 2 games. If you're the 7th or 8th seed, you got to win 1 game. And that's going to determine the seeding in each respective conference. So, like I said before, there's a little over 2 weeks left before the play-in tournament starts. There's still a couple of games left. So the teams that are going to be in the play-in tournament and the teams that are going to face off against in the play-in tournament are still yet to be determined. But it's still never too early to start thinking about the possible matchups that we can get. So we're going to first start with the Western Conference. Which matchup in the West do you think is the most exciting matchup that is possible, right? They have to be possible. Which matchup do you think is going to be the most exciting? So, Dylan, who do you got?
All right, looking at the landscape of the Western Conference, I am going to, as a Steph Curry fan, I'm going to have to say Warriors v. Lakers. Now, if this was a healthy LeBron James and a healthy Anthony Davis, I would not pick this series at all because I think the Lakers would more likely be a higher seed and they wouldn't even have a chance. And the Warriors, they wouldn't have a chance of being in the play-in, and I don't think the Warriors would have any chance of beating the Lakers in the playoffs whatsoever if both Anthony Davis and LeBron James were healthy. But because this season has been so injury riddled, and that Anthony Davis and LeBron James have been out, and even though they're both back now, they don't look 100%. I would like to say Warriors v. Lakers. It is the prime matchup, and I'll go through a couple of my reasons. So the first one is that the Steph Curry versus LeBron matchup. Now, this has been one of the biggest matchups besides... It's really been Steph and LeBron with KD mixed in there for most of the years. Now, this has been a storied rival throughout the entire decade of the 2010s, from 2015 onward. Now, I would love to see a rematch of this just one more time in the Western Conference because I think the story there would be huge. And if Steph Curry could pull this out, it would be really big for his legacy. Now, the second, like I mentioned, is that LeBron James and Anthony Davis have been off injury and they're not looking as sharp as they were. Particularly Anthony Davis, he doesn't look as aggressive, he doesn't look as dominant, and maybe he'll come to form in these next few weeks, and maybe the Lakers will, push on and not be in the play-in tournament, but at the rate that they're going at now, it seems like they might, take a dip in the playoffs and eventually play against the Warriors. That's my favorite Western Conference play-in team.
All right, so the matchup that I'm going to go with is that I also have the Warriors, but instead of the Lakers, I got the Portland Trailblazers. So obviously, like you said, a Warriors-Lakers matchup would be super exciting simply because LeBron James versus Steph Curry. But I feel like a Portland and Warriors matchup would be exciting because of Damian Lillard versus Stephen Curry. Like you said before, LeBron James has been a little injured, and he came out with the quote saying that he might not be 100% for the rest of his career. Yes. But a guy who is 100% right now, or two guys who are 100% right now, are Steph Curry and Damian Lillard. And these are two of the best, if not the two best point guards in the league, depending on what your opinions are. Damian Lillard and Steph Curry, and these two guys are the leaders of their respective teams, right? Without Steph Curry, the Warriors are nothing. Without Damian Lillard, they do have CJ McCollum, but pretty much they're also nothing. So these are the two franchise guys. Not to say LeBron James isn't, obviously LeBron James is the face of basketball, right? But I mean, these two guys, Steph Curry, like Dylan said, would be big for his legacy if he can lead a team all by himself to the playoffs. And Damian Lillard, I mean, this guy has had some of the most clutch moments in recent history when it comes to the playoffs. Like, he obviously has that buzzer beater over the Houston Rockets. He has that buzzer beater over the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, this guy is probably the most clutch player in basketball. I think the stats say it's Russell Westbrook, but just by the eye test, it feels like Damian Lillard is the most clutch player in basketball. And just having two of the best point guards just going back-to-back, shooting deep logo threes like they did in the All-Star game, that's going to be so much fun to watch. If it does happen, just the 3-point battle. So that's who I got, the Trailblazers versus Warriors. But both matchups, in my opinion, would be super exciting to watch.
I would just like to say that... I just want to say that I think a Warriors versus Trailblazers matchup is good because, the past few years, I'm looking at this right now, from 2015, the Warriors have the Warriors and Trailblazers record in the playoffs. The Warriors are 3-0 against them, and they've swept them 2 times, and they've beat them in 5 games 1 time. Now in 2019, do you remember the season when Damian Lillard was going off, and Steph Curry was also going off? Steph Curry did end up sweeping the Trailblazers without Kevin Durant, but obviously it's different this season. The Warriors also don't have Klay Thompson, so it might be a closer matchup. However, the one thing I'm going to say as a knock against this matchup is that Portland has been struggling as of late. I know at one point in the season when they were above 500, that they actually had a negative point differential while being above 500, and that's thanks to the terrific clutch play of Damian Lillard. But I knew that he couldn't sustain that level of clutch baskets and clutch efficiency. So now you're starting to see that the Portland Trailblazers have taken a dip because Damian Lillard has also taken a dip. And I think recently he's only been averaging 24 points, and the Trailblazers have been on a heavy losing streak. So I think that right now the Trailblazers are a little weak, and I feel like there's definitely potential for an upset there.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see where you're coming from. All right, so those are our 2 favorite matchups in the Western Conference. Now let's move on over to the Eastern Conference. Eastern Conference is a little more packed because there's so many different teams. Like, for example, the Knicks, who are all the way at the 4 seed, they're only a game and a half ahead of the Heat or the 7 seed. So they can easily lose 2 games in a row and find themselves in a play-in tournament. So it's a little more teams to choose from, a lot more possibilities. So Dylan, what's your favorite matchup from the Eastern Conference?
Yes. From the Eastern Conference, I'd have to go with one experienced team and one young team. So the experienced team I'm going to go with are the Heat. Now, obviously, they made it to the finals in the bubble off some really, really efficient shooting during the playoffs. And I just want to see if they can continue that type of play. Obviously, they started off the season pretty slow, but they've really gotten back into it, and they're now 34-30. And I really want to see a Tyler Hero matchup against LaMelo Ball of the Charlotte Hornets. Now I know there are a lot of teams in there, but the player that I find most exciting in those lower seeds has to be LaMelo Ball. I mean, did you see on the play he made his first game back, that underhanded dime for 80
crazy.
feet for that layup? I mean, that was insane. So I really want to see LaMelo Ball in a play-in against a more experienced team and see how he does and try to test his mettle and also test the Heat to see if they were really, not fakers, because a lot of people think that the Heat made it to the finals off of bubble parameters and off of like hot shooting and whatever. But I want to see if they're legit, if they're a legit team that can make a deep playoff run this year.
All right, so the matchup that I'm going to go with from the Eastern Conference are the New York Knicks versus the Washington Wizards. So first, the Washington Wizards, Russell Westbrook has been going off this season. I mean, he's averaging another triple-double, and he's just putting up video game numbers. At this point, it kind of just seems like it's normal for Russell Westbrook. And he's one of the most overhated players in the league. I don't know why. Dude's an awesome player and an awesome guy, and it'd just be so cool to see him and also Bradley Beal finally get into the playoffs. That's an awesome duo to watch, a very underrated duo as well. And part of the reason why they're underrated is because they are the 10 seed, but still a very talented, highest scoring duo. And Russell Westbrook, like I said, overhated player. He has something to prove. Many people are counting the Washington Wizards out. Maybe not early in the season, but definitely in the middle of the season when they started to go on a little bit of a losing streak. And then they won, I believe, 8 or 9 games in a row at one point, and they're right back in the play-in tournament, right back in that playoff talk. So it'd be cool to see Russell Westbrook kind of silence his haters, kind of prove that, hey, I can carry a team. And also be cool to see Bradley Beal in a playoff situation like this. And the reason I chose the Knicks is, once again, the Knicks also have something to prove. The Knicks, Julius Randle, obviously we had a video about him earlier, about the New York Knicks. Julius Randle has been playing outstanding this season, and the Knicks are an inexperienced young team. And once again, they also have something to prove to the league. Was this run that they went on where they won like 8 games in a row? Was it a fake run? Are they legit? Are they a legit playoff team? What are they made of? Same reasons why Dylan kind of went with the Charlotte Hornets. That's kind of the reason I'm going for the New York Knicks. And also a New York team there kind of just also brings an element of attention to the game itself. So that's ultimately why I went with the Knicks versus Wizards. But both matchups, again, super exciting teams.
Yeah, I like to say that I think Shivam's matchup is good because New York hasn't been in the playoffs in so many years. I think it's over 7 at this point.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a really long time. And to see New York back there and to have Madison Square Garden in a playoff atmosphere would be absolutely amazing. I have no problems with that. And I also want to see if Russell Westbrook can have some playoff success. Because you said he's overhated for no reason. I also agree that he's overhated. But there is some legitimacy in the criticisms. Russell Westbrook is not known as a playoff performer, even though he might have some good games. He does often in the clutch kind of step back, and because of his lackluster shooting, he's not really able to put up these like magnificent numbers in the playoffs. So yeah, I think this is a good chance for a lot of teams to prove themselves as legit contenders for championships. Maybe not this year, but definitely in the coming years.
Agreed. And also a one-game matchup at Madison Square Garden, that's just like a different type of intensity, different type of atmosphere. So all the four matchups, like we'll go over a recap. It was the Wizards and the Knicks for me, and then in the Eastern Conference, and it was the Heat and Hornets for Dylan. And in the Western Conference, it was the Warriors versus Lakers for Dylan, and the Warriors versus the Portland Trailblazers for me. So that's the video. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.